As a student, you are expected to read, speak and write almost all the time. There's a vast range of content that we come across, be it stories, novels or poems. This content is so dynamic in nature that the reader is enriched after understanding it. This enrichment is the result of the way that content is written. Writing is an art. Using words and language in order to create an effect is an arduous task. But there are some tools with which you can understand the language in a better manner and achieve that task. One of those tools is figures of speech. We come across figures of speech in poems mostly. Some of the basic figures of speech are simile, metaphor, alliteration, repetition, personification, antithesis, climax, etc. There are many more than these which are taught in further standards. Let's first study what is a figure of speech. So what is a figure of speech? Language which has figures of speech is known as figurative language. One can find examples of figurative language in novels, poems, essays and plays. As mentioned earlier, such type of writing is used to create an effect on the reader, but it is not always we read figurative language. The language which is straightforward in manner without the use of figure of speech, it is called literal language. Literal language is what we find on road signs, in offices and in research papers. Let us now study some of the basic figures of speech which we are using commonly. We are going to study 4 figures of speech in today's video. They are simile, metaphor, personification and hyperbole. Let's go on. The first figure of speech for the study is simile. A simile is a figure of speech that compares two things directly. It is mainly used to compare two or more things that possess a similar quality. It uses words such as like, as to make the comparison. For example, if we need to describe a soldier who fought very bravely in the battle, we may say, he fought like a lion in the battle. Here we are comparing the soldier's way of fighting with that of a lion. To show this comparison, we have used the word like. Another example of simile is, she is as busy as a bee. Here we are talking about a girl who's very busy. Her being busy is compared with a bee which we know for being constantly busy in her work. In this sentence, the comparison is shown by as. Below are some common examples of simile. As slow as a sloth, as proud as a peacock, as cold as ice. Now metaphor. Metaphor is a figure of speech that makes a comparison between two things and describes them in such a way that is not literally true. Those two things are completely unrelated but are compared to convey a quality. Let us understand this better through an example. Think of a person who is very noble, kind and helpful. To describe this person, we may say, he or she has a heart of gold. Now, it is absolutely not possible for a person to have a golden heart. A heart and gold are not at all related. But to convey that the nobility of the person's heart, we compare it with gold, which is considered as noble a metal since it remains pure in spite of resistance like corrosion. Another example of metaphor is the camel is the ship of the desert. Now again, camel and ship are not related to each other. But to convey that a camel serves the same purpose as that of a ship, we compare them and mean to say that just as a ship is the vehicle of the sea, a camel is the vehicle for the desert. Sometimes to describe a person's wickedness, we say he is a devil. Now we just mean to say that the person is as wicked as a devil. But instead of saying he is like a devil, we say he is a devil. Now here we compare the person with the devil more directly and say it as if there is no difference between them, as if they both are the same. Now this kind of comparison, where no distinction is made between the two objects being compared, it is called metaphor. Now simile is he fought like a lion in the battle and metaphor is he was the lion in the battle. We can easily understand that a metaphor is more direct than a simile where no distinction between the objects is shown. Some examples of metaphor are: her eyes were icy. It's raining cats and dogs. She's a couch potato. I am a night owl. Now the third figure of speech is personification. Personification is a figure of speech used to attribute human qualities or abilities to non-living things. We can find many examples of personification in poems. It is a common practice to give human abilities to non-living entities to create an effect. Now consider the following examples. Death lays its icy hands on everyone. The trees dance to the wind. The rhythm of the sea speaks to me. Time flies. The city never sleeps. In all three examples given above, we can observe that non-living or abstract things have been given qualities which can be found only in humans. In the first example, death, which is an abstract noun, has been said to have the ability to lay its hands. In second example, it is said that the trees are dancing. In third example, the rhythm of the sea seems to have the ability of speaking. Now these abilities are possessed only by living things. Thus, humane qualities are attached to non-living entities. We say personification has been used. Some common examples of personification are: the lightning danced across the sky. The wind howled in the night. The moon played hide and seek with the clouds. Now the last figure of speech for the study is hyperbole. Hyperbole is a literary device that is exaggerated to make something look and sound a lot better than it actually is. Hyperbole is often used in stories and poems. It emphasizes a part of the story and evokes a response from the reader. Hyperbole can help the writer get his thought across so that the reader understands the humor or the intensity of the situation. Now read the examples of hyperbole given below. I am so hungry that I could eat a horse. I have told you 100 times. This is the worst book I have ever read. The pen is mightier than the sword. He moved heaven and earth to treat his sick child. We can see that every sentence given above has been exaggerated to an extent which is not practically possible. Such type of literary device is called hyperbole. What did we learn? We learned that figures of speech are literary devices designed to bring out an effect on the reader to convey a thought in a better manner. Figures of speech are very commonly used by writers in prose and poetry. Figures of speech make the language sound more beautiful. Exercise. Identify the figures of speech. Edward worked like an ox. Nature blessed the couple with a child. The sun smiled down on us. I have a million things to do. She carried a ton of papers with her. I ran like the wind. My father has a stone heart. All the world is a stage.